Oh, so he's back. The villain himself, Brother Maverick, conceded to me and decided to kick me from the call. But anyways, on a serious note, he actually made a video and he actually posted the footage of him getting curb stomped. Surprise! Surprise, they have a humiliation fetish anyways. So he did say some things in this video that are particularly stupid. And he strawmanned the argument afterwards, and in the comments, he had an autistic meltdown, which I'll go over as well. Oh, considering that he's a 4, I fucking doesn't have the ability to actually track anything I say in this conversation. I'm just going to give a quick response and actually give you what the argument is. So I use this argument a lot when I'm trying to point out contradictions or any contradiction within the triomny being. So basically, it's going to be the case that the triomny being is non-physical and also has the property of creation. Both of those just mean that if he's non-physical, he resides outside of space and time. Him having the property of creation just means he has the ability or the identifying feature to be able to create something. So that's going to lead to a contradiction, because if he's non-physical, he cannot subject himself to physical changes. He subjects most of physical changes whenever he creates something, so therefore it's just going to lead to a contradiction, because whenever you're creating something, you're subjecting yourself to time, because time is represented by change by conditionally. And he, of course, he didn't understand the argument, so he just strawmanned it.
But his claim was that an immaterial God could not interact with the material universe, and if he could, then it's a contradiction, right? So then when people say stuff like that to you guys, I want you to remember this and say to them, then by your logic, your immaterial mind should not be able to lift your material hand, right?
Is he this dumb? I just said I was a physicalist, like moments before.
Because we have limitations imposed on us. But here, let me address what you said originally, because you're like all over the place. Your premise is that rationality and logical laws are real, and they're immaterial, and they're universal, and they're invariant. That's basically, would you agree with that?
Are you talking about just the laws of logic and rationality?
Right. So rationality and logical laws are real, right? If they're real, but they're also immaterial, you would also have to say that they're universal, right?
So I'm a physicalist. I think consciousness is just going to be a physical concept. When it comes to logic, I'm sort of agnostic on whether or not it's going to be a physical thing or not. But for now, I would just grant that it's true that's going to be immaterial.
Okay. So at the
He then claimed this is what I said throughout the conversation, which is obviously going to be false. And the most false thing is, I'm a white dude that looks like the younger version of Richard Dawkins. This is obviously not going to be true. Okay, but the first claim he actually made about me was I said logic just exists somehow. No, logic didn't come into existence. There doesn't have to be some sort of explanation for logic's existence in the first place, because it's just going to be an eternal concept. It's always existed, he also agrees. Contradictions, not a problem. I never said contradictions weren't a problem. He was the one that literally said that God can go through contradictions, but he never elaborated on it farther. Minds are optional for rationality. For rationality's existence, he was just talking about a coherent concept. You can look at the beginning of the video. I said the universe is rational if rational just means a coherent concept, and coherent concepts emerge from non-coherent concepts all the time. Math order and science equals accidental. Once again, this is just not even my position. Once again, math didn't have an existence or didn't come into existence in the first place. Science and order are just going to be utilizing things like math and logic, for example. Order is a result of laws of logic that have always existed in the first place. And once again, this whole idea that the universe is perfectly fine-tuned, if it was like off by 1%, we wouldn't exist in the first place. And also there's going to be other things like evolution that requires billions of sentient beings to suffer and come to a dead end. Like 99% of beings that go through evolution end up dying before natural selection occurs. So no, it's not going to be perfectly fine-tuned. If we were expecting a fine-tuned universe, we would see no suffering in the first place from an all-loving, all-powerful God. It doesn't even make sense like the last one. The universe explains itself by not explaining itself. I never said the universe explained itself by not explaining itself. I don't know where you got this one from. But him explaining the universe through God doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And the reason he did explain it using God is because there was no other alternative available to him, which is obviously going to be the God of Gav's fallacy, which obviously is a thing that does exist. And how does the universe explain itself? He asked me this multiple times. It's like the Kalam thing. And I would just say the universe explains itself through laws of logic and physics existing. Energy always existed as well, so energy would just like somehow cause the universe to exist. Once again, I'm not a physicist, but the consensus physics is quantum fields, not some god out there.